Right, make it a bit bigger. So everything. Oh, I think we're live. Hello, everybody.
Hello. I must remember to put the comments up or I won't see what anyone's saying. Hello.
You need to say that, and you need to say hello to everybody. We've got Chris. Hi, Chris. How are you today? Oh, we've got Rowan in as well. Rowan's made it today. That's nice. Hello. And well, we've got a few more people coming in. Oh, we've got Becca in as well. Hello, Becca. Hope you're well. And anyone that can't message, I know there's a few people that can't message, so watch it on a big TV. God.
No.
More for you. That's all I can say. Oh, God. Yes. Anyway, how are you today, Heather?
I'm all right. I'm a bit tired at the moment, I'll be honest. Don't know why. Just feeling drained and a bit low on energy. And so I need to do something about that. This is not a nice place to be.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a bit awkward, isn't it? So I'm quite bouncy, actually. I'm uncomfortable because I've hurt my leg. So when I get back from work, all I want to do, I like to kick the cat out the way so that I can, get the bath going. But once I've turned the tap on, then I pay attention to the cat, and he sort of looks a bit confused and wonders why I've, brutalised him on the way past.
You're in the way of my bath.
Exactly. Get out the way. I need the tap. But so as I say, that's not too bad. But plenty of analgesics helps a treat.
Yes. and a gin and tonic, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely. I have one of those. Right here. Cheers.
Very nice. Didn't get one this evening, but never mind. I might get one later.
You might do. You'll earn it. Definitely. Oh, we've got jewellery sales in. Hello. Hi. Hello. How are you today? I hope you're well. Oh, God. So I had a fun evening on Friday. I did online karaoke, which was a hoot.
Oh, okay. That's new to me.
Yeah, it was new to me too. And a friend of mine's been doing it for a while. And she just suddenly announced it on Facebook. And I just was lucky enough to catch that she'd, written this down. It's like, oh, can I play? so that was really good fun. So, yeah. And of course, you get braver if every single gin that you drink, you just get that little bit braver, don't you?
There's a lot to be said for Dutch courage, and especially when it comes to singing in public.
Yes.
But you do have a good voice, so never fear.
It was fun though. So, but no, it was good. We blasted a few tunes out, which was, it was just fun. It was nothing to it, but it was just something to do on a Friday evening. It was good fun. So I enjoyed that. So yes. Oh dear, you done any witchy stuff this week?
To be fair, as I said, I've been a bit low on energy, and it's always difficult to shove. You need to replenish yourself first before you can start putting it out there in the universe, and the universe needs it clearly, but so do I. So that's not something. It's something I struggle with to be able to say, actually, you know what? I just need to consolidate, ground, and not be too pushy about doing lots of stuff if I'm going through a low energy phase, because it is only a phase. It will change. I'm fully aware of that, and my low energy moods don't last for very long. They just kind of ebb and flow a bit, and I'm in a bit of an ebb rather than the flow right now, I think it's fair to say.
I think so too. Well, understandable. Because it's just coming. So yeah, I mean that's an understandable situation considering what you've been going through. So yeah, do you know what was really interesting? And it was a few days ago. And Chris Witchin put a comment up on a group that we're in, and it was a concept that had been given to her by her daughter, and it was that try and get this right. It was accepting an offer of help, accepting generosity is also a gift of generosity. And I'm not one for accepting help. I'm very much of the I can cope, I can manage brigade.
Indeed.
So when someone, I can help you with that. But it is, and it was a real sort of twist on the tail, if you like. But it put things into perspective a little bit, really. And I'm not normally very good at either accepting help or, sort of when someone offers something, I'm like, oh, no, you're okay. But you know, it's nice. People like to help, and when you accept their help, you're allowing them to feel nice about helping you. And I haven't thought about that before, because I like helping people, and I haven't really thought about that before.
It is a two-way exchange for sure,
Yeah.
and that's why it's why we like helping other people, because there is a kickback from it. Of course there is,
Yeah.
and it's a win-win, isn't it? So there needs to be that balance in it. I'm pretty much the same. I'd probably rather eat my own vomit than ask for help, if I'm going to be perfectly frank. But I've got a bit better about it over time, and it's like, well, there's nothing to lose. And actually, if you ask for help, somebody has the right to say no, and you shouldn't take that as rejection. It's simply that they're not able to give right now. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it's, as you say, it's taking a different perspective on it and not treating it as, oh well, I'm letting the side down somehow by not being able to do everything. I can be very strong when I have to be. But I'm not strong all the time. Nobody is, and I don't much care for being labelled as somebody who always is, because you would then end up being caught by it, and you end up believing the hype, and it's not healthy. And I think that's probably why I'm low on energy now, because I had to be very strong and full of energy for everybody else at the times I've been through, and now it's like, yeah, but I don't have to do that anymore, so I'm not going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very, very difficult. But you know, that part of that comes with that kind of concept, not only of accepting love and help from other people, but accepting it from yourself too. Yeah, and that's quite a difficult thing sometimes, isn't it? So to be kind to yourself and gentle to yourself, and not give yourself a hard time. I tend to talk to myself in my mother's voice. And tell myself off all the time.
Well, we all have it, don't we? That inner voice, which can be less than pleasant sometimes. That does come out, particularly in times of extreme stress, or just something that throws you back into that state of mind where you're not thinking rationally. It's nothing to do with being rational. And you know, yes, I'm old enough now, and I've learned enough to turn around and tell the voice exactly where it can go. But you know, it takes a while to get there, and it doesn't always work.
It's that sort of inner critic thing, isn't it? It's difficult sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. Oh, we've got Tina in. Hello, Tina. Tina was also doing the karaoke with us, and we all had, didn't we, Tina? It was great. Oh dear. Yes, we all had we all had our moments.
And that was one of them, clearly. I wish I'd been there.
Actually, no, it was really good fun, and my friend Litha was, you know, very generous in letting me join her group at the very last moment in order to do that. And yeah, I really enjoyed myself actually. So Kat's kind of giving me funny looks. Oh, what's the matter with you? Why are you making that noise?
Yes, exactly. And how does it work? Because when we speak like this on StreamYard, you know, when one person talks, the other one gets kind of cut silent. So how does karaoke work? Is it a different program or something?
Yeah, no, we did it on Facebook actually, and it was we kind of recorded a live video. So we found what we wanted to sing on YouTube. Got on YouTube. We found what we wanted to sing on YouTube, and they have the surprised I joined. How dare you? I can have fun, you know. Yeah, so you find the karaoke song on YouTube, which is obviously the backing music and stuff. And then we recorded ourselves live, like either on a phone or tablet, and then posted it or did it live on this group that she's got going. It was yeah, I mean, it was, you know, a bit tricky to get your head round for the first couple of minutes, kind of like, I've got to do what? But I've two things. Oh God. But yeah, once you kind of got your head round that, it was like, oh yeah, bring it on.
Especially, as you say, after a couple of lubricating drinks.
Yes.
Loosens up the vocal cords no end.
Indeed it does. Yes, it does. Oh dear. So I need to tell you, I had such a funny experience today. So I I got absolutely soaked at work today. Very, very long story, but the bottom line was I got absolutely soaked through and through, which meant that I needed to be dealt with. And having dealt with myself and my hair, which was, you can imagine, it takes quite a long time to dry my hair, it's quite a lot of it. And so I managed to dry my hair, and I toweled it all off and was given a hairdryer and all the rest of it. And there was this chap at work, and he said, how about this for a chat up line? He said, would you like me to brush your hair for you? My wife's a hairdresser. I was like, wow.
Yeah, that's peculiar in so many ways. It's like, does that make you good at brushing hair because your wife happens to be a hairdresser? Where's the connection? And what would she have to say about it is the next thought.
I know. It was as much as I could do to keep a straight face. It's like, I could brush it myself. It's not the best chat up line I've ever had, though, and the best one I've ever had, that was also about my hair. And it was when I was 17. I was well and truly in my punk phase, and so I had the shaved sides and the mohawk and the different coloured fringe and all sorts of stuff. And I walked in the pub, and there was a bloke standing at the bar who turned and looked at me, and then looked a little bit surprised as he did a second second take on it. And he said, "Blimey, who cut your hair? The council."
That's not a chat out line, that's an insult.
No, but it made me laugh so much that I went out with him for 6 months.
Okay.
It was horrible, actually, but that's beside the point. But
well, it didn't start well, did it?
It was the funniest thing I'd ever heard.
Goodness me.
Which is a sense of humour, isn't it? Otherwise, I thought I could have dotted his T's for him, but oh dear, it was so funny. So obviously, hair and chat up lines is a bit of a running theme. I mean, that's twice now in 53 years. I mean, it's definitely a theme.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh dear, oh dear. Oh yes. But it was just so funny today. I didn't know what to say. I really didn't. It was just such an odd comment to make.
Yes. Very strange.
So yeah, anyway, I declined his very, very generous offer, and provided my own brush. So
yeah, it's kind of letting other people down gently is also the thing, isn't it? Because people sort of bowl up with these desperate to help things, and when you really actually don't need or want it, but you don't want to kind of like throw it back at them.
For ages.
How do you reply? Yeah.
No, I'm quite proficient at it now.
Years of practice.
Yeah, whether your wife's a hairdresser or not, I can do my own. Yeah, it was funny that he was telling me it looked terrible. Maybe that's what he was really saying. Oh dear. Either way, that tickled me, and I laughed about it all the way home. Oh dear. Anyway, talking of chat up lines, of course, it's Valentine's this weekend, isn't it?
Yes, it's the Sunday, I believe.
I think so.
Which is very strange. Yes.
Yeah.
No one's going to be going anywhere, though, are they?
I don't think so. No, I don't think there'll be an awful lot of stuff going on at home. I suppose all the florists and everybody, they'll be working flat out, won't they? But yeah.
And sort of Marks and Spencer's meal deals will be doing well.
Yes, indeed. Yes, I shall be doing on Saturday, because I'm on my own. For those of you that don't know, I'm very happily single. And so actually on Saturday we're going to be doing a self-love spell, which is actually rather nice, because it's not all about loving and accepting other people. You've got to love and accept yourself too. So
yes, that's the first thing, actually, because it's very difficult to find the right sort of people to be with if you're not accepting of where you are and where you're at and who you are. Yeah. And it's a lot harder than it sounds.
It is. Because you can be close, like I was saying before, the inner critic. You can be really hard on yourself, far harder than anybody else can. It's a difficult thing, really. And you're kind of bombarded with how your face should look, your eyes should look, your hair should look, your tummy should look, your legs should look, all that sort of stuff. You're bombarded by the media, aren't you, as to the ideal. And of course, then if you're less than ideal, people tend to give themselves a hard time about it. Not always, of course, but very often people do, because it's just not quite the perfection that people strive for. It's a really difficult thing, and accepting you are what you are, you know, wiggly teeth or whatever it might be. If you happen to have wiggly teeth, then what? You know, it's just, yeah, it's one of those funny things, isn't it? And it is nice to be able to accept yourself. And sometimes doing a bit of either inner work or even just a bit of spell work to allow yourself to accept it. You know, your failings as you perceive them. I think it's you know, I think it's an important thing to be able to do. So we're going to do some of that on Saturday. Actually, I think that would be really quite nice. So again, online, that'll be a, you know, an event that's not an event if you're not.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's something that people talk about. It's easy to talk about and very difficult to do. It's always, oh, well, make time for yourself, we'll do this. And I am quite bad at doing that. I know I am. Everything else comes first, whether it's running my business or having to look after certain other people's. And yeah, but I do know that you can't, you know, you can't keep giving out your own energy if you haven't got some for yourself, and you have to replenish yourself first, because otherwise you're not going to be much good to anyone.
So for those people that maybe haven't done something like this before, what advice would you give to those people as a sort of a start off thing if they wanted to accept themselves magically? Because obviously I've got lots of ideas, but what would you suggest, Heather?
Yes. What would I suggest? I find sort of magically doing something that takes time. So you're taking a block of time that is away from everything else, and that can be very hard to do. And I really do struggle with that. But if I take the time, I find a special bath. For me, a bath is a magical thing. I can shower anytime.
Yeah.
Its uses, functional, blah, blah, blah. For me, a bath is always magical because I don't get them often enough because of time. But putting lovely things in the bath, you know, the right oils and the scent and bubbles. And I have a slipper bath. Now, this sounds very old fashioned, and it is, but it's one you can sit up in, but you get enough water in that keeps your bits warm.
Nobody wants chilly bits.
Because a regular bath usually is not deep enough for you to do that unless you lie practically flat in it, which isn't a terribly comfortable place to be.
No, it's not actually, is it? In your life.
So to be able to sort of sit more in a bath that's shorter but deeper, especially being reasonably tall. I mean, baths are tricky enough as it is. But that I find, it's very cocooning, it's enveloping, and it is basically like a nice big warm hug. And let's face it, we don't get enough of those. So that in combination with the essential oils, and again, as I think I mentioned last week, you know, fragrance to me is very magically transporting. Nice candles, decent smelly ones, incense if I feel like it, and literally I kind of say, announce to everybody, I'm going off for one of my baths. And off I sort of, do not disturb. Do not think you can come in and have a no. Just go up, use the other loo. My time. And it doesn't always take a long time for me to, you know, sometimes half an hour is enough. Other times I can be there for getting on for an hour, just doing very little, just actually sitting and letting my mind wander and just going, being in the present rather than thinking ahead to the future, what's happening tonight, tomorrow, next week, what's got to happen, you know, over the next month. It's like, no, and I find accepting where I am in time magically works just as well as kind of getting all hooked up on appearance or whatever. It's more about where your heart is. That's kind of one of my very first steps, and probably one of the easiest things for someone to do who hasn't got a whole selection of, you know, tremendously magical equipment about them.
I'll tell you what, actually, what I was thinking while you were talking was the other thing that you can kind of add into the mix, if you like, is while you're soaking in the bath, obviously so much of what we do magically is about intent, isn't it? Visualization and so on and so forth. And if you while you're sitting in the bath can visualize some of that negativity seeping out into the water,
Yes.
and allow the things that you don't like about yourself, whether it's your personality or whether whether you're a bit snappy, or if you've had a bad day and you've bitten somebody's head off and you regret it. Let's face it, we've all had days like that. If you can allow that negativity to seep into the water and then let it go down the plug hole, again, it's releasing. So you can do some releasing work in there as well, and that's an easy thing to do. And if you haven't got time for the bath, like you said, sometimes you just don't have that time or that inclination or a physical bath. If you've just got the shower, again, allow the water to soak it up and let it go down the plug hole.
I find a shower is very good for that, almost more, because it washes over you and it's gone. So you have this, because it's a flowing, running water, then I find that is easier to do the letting go of stuff very much for a shower. Yeah.
Exactly. Excuse me.
What, Eva?
Couple of cups there. Oh dear. So yeah, that's quite a nice, easy thing. What sort of oils would you add to your bath, Heather?
I tend to like things like a bit of sandalwood, occasionally a bit of lang lang, but very tiny because I find that a bit overpowering. And actually, although it's not a magical oil, for me it is, which sounds really odd, but there's some stuff called fengel, which is you buy it, but there's something about the smell of that I love, and I think it's because either other people have had it or I've smelt it somewhere and just connected into that being very luxurious. And I only put a diddy bit in because I don't like baths you can slip around in too much. And if I can get them, rose petals will often go in, lavender, bit of rosemary if I need sort of perking up, and a bit of energizing. It depends on my mood and what I feel I need. I think it's a bit like making a soup. It's a Heather soup.
Okay, so a couple of points to raise there. If you're thinking about putting essential oils in the bath, please don't put them in neat. You will hurt yourself.
Yeah.
So mix them with a carrier oil or a bubble bath or something first, just to emulsify them and so on. Thank you. So that's the first thing.
True.
The other thing is that if you are using loose herbs, as in the lavender and the rosemary and the sage, or whatever it is that you happen to be choosing, by tying them in a little bag, or even in a sort of a piece of cloth, and then like tying them with a bow, just this one I prepared earlier. Actually, I didn't. It just happens to be sitting there.
Yeah, you don't end up with a mess or climbing out and realising you've got half a ton of foliage all over your body.
And you also don't want it going down your plug hole, because you don't want to have to be calling the plumber out.
Exactly.
So if you've got a little piece of fabric, where are we there? You can literally just put your herbs in there. Can you see that? There. Just literally put your herbs in the middle and then kind of bunch it up and then hang it underneath your tap. You can do that too. So while the water's running, tie it here. And then while the water's running, it runs through your little bag. Probably a bit bigger than that, really, to be honest. But
yeah, it kind of makes a tea, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, it does.
Like a tea bag.
Yeah, make your own tea bag kind of thing. And so you can, you can use that way. Or again, you can, if you want to, instead of having the water running through it, you can have it floating around in your bath and that kind of thing. But it does kind of keep them all together and prevent the plug hole blockages, which nobody.
No, because when I have used loose herbs, loose stuff, which I have done, you get the little strainer thing that you normally put in the kitchen sink, and I put that in, so that catches it all. It's interesting. Rowan said here, and it's a question. A long time, 40 years, which I knew, said there are two ways to do magic. One is to use the energy inside, and the other is to call on the energy of the big sister. I would say that if I'm doing stuff, I tend to draw on both energy. I'm trying not to use my own energy. I'm trying to draw up energy from the earth and energy from the sky, sort of out there energy. And it tends to be a combination of the two. I do the energy, because if you allow the energy into you, then it becomes the energy inside. But you're always connecting to something beyond yourself, aren't you? You're always drawing on, whether it's, the big sister is one way of putting it. It's the universal energy that's out there, the collective, the god, the goddess, however. I would say yes, a combination of the two, because ultimately it's all energy. So, but some people feel more comfortable drawing up from the earth and using that. Other people like to draw from, particular deity to work their magic. It's a very subjective thing. So, I mean, that's my view. What do you think, Becca?
Well, I've got all sorts of ways of doing it. I mean, you can do mirror spells, for example. Got that down there. Mirror spells, there's that kind of thing. So while you're looking at yourself, you can be critical, but you can also kind of look and change. Because when you look at something long enough, it does actually change. So you can look and change things like that. You can use candle magic with or without oils. I mean, there's a myriad of ways to do it. You can use sigils with or without candles. Draw sigils in your bath if you like, in whatever. You can do all that kind of stuff, and it does rather depend. I'm very much dependent on what mood I'm in as to what I might happen to do. But I would use herbs. I use herbs all the time. I'm very much a herbal witch. I tend not to use crystals quite so much. We've had discussions about crystals.
Yeah. I don't tend to use them very much either.
Yeah, and of course the other thing is as well that sometimes you might want to put crystals. But sorry, it's trying to destroy my chair. Yeah, and of course there's lots of crystals that don't react well to being put in water. So sometimes there might be a perfect crystal, but you might decide, I can't really do so much with that. But then you can put that maybe underneath the candle or whatever that you've got while you're having your bath, for example. So you don't have to chuck it all in there and then hope for the best, like you said before. So I will use herbs and things, whether it's in sort of tea bag sachets or whatever. I use a lot of essential oils. But I like candle magic too, and mirror magic. I think mirror magic's, very, very useful, especially if it's for introspection.
Yeah. So when you're doing magic, do you feel as if you're drawing on your own energy from inside, or whether you're drawing from energy?
A bit of both, actually.
Yeah. I don't make a massive distinction between the two. They just have a slightly different feel because they're just slightly different aspects of the same thing to me.
Yeah, I think it starts off from outside. Analysing it, I think it would probably start off, but then I feel that I almost imbue that energy, which then mixes with my own, which gets bigger, which then gets expelled, and the bigger that gets, the more I can receive because I'm bigger. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You literally sort of puff yourself up with it, don't you? And then the bigger you get, the bigger vessel you are to be able to channel what's coming in and therefore chuck it out. So I am very much of the opinion that it will come, I think, initially from outside. And as you say, whether it's from a deity source or Mother Nature source or the moon or whatever it might be, it will initially come from the outside. Might be the power of a crystal, might be the power of what I've just written, but whatever it is, it's an outside thing. So it's a funny sort of thing, really, isn't it? I've never really kind of analysed it specifically before. It's just using energy, and it sort of it starts and comes and then gets bigger and then rolls almost.
It's interesting to think about it, isn't it? Really, it's that whole thing of, I was always very aware of working with energy with my hands. That's the place I always felt it. People say, well, pick up a ball of energy. I'm like, yep, there you go.
Yeah.
It's there. I can feel it. So I can't feel anything. I'm like, okay. And it's probably why I don't use a lot of tools and other things, because I feel like, in a way, for me, it's like turning a tap on. It's just like, there you go. So why would I go a long way round when I go the street forward? But it's whatever helps you to plug in.
Yeah, and sometimes actually by using tools, I find it disrupts the energy too. Do you know what I mean? So if you've got an outlet and you want to direct the energy at that particular plant that's looking a bit sad, which it is, I need to deal with that. The poor thing. you know, if you want to direct it at that particular thing, if you're directing it like this, and then you're holding a wand or whatever it is you're holding, whatever, you suddenly do that, and it's then distorted because it's got to go into that and be channeled and then come back out again. And
yes,
I don't
want to just direct.
Yeah, and I don't feel that it always necessarily, it's not exception without exception, but I don't feel that it always necessarily amplifies what it is that I'm giving out. Sometimes, yes, but
And it's hard to say when, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes it just kinks it rather than it actually being given directly, if you know what I mean. Yeah, nobody wants to give out kinky energy now, do they?
Who knew?
That's how to rephrase that.
Maybe.
Just leave that there.
But mirror work is quite a useful way of working. I think a lot of people haven't heard of that so much. I mean, they might have heard of the dark mirror, but they won't necessarily be aware of how you might work on something like self-love using a mirror. I mean, obviously you and I probably approach it in slightly different ways because we just do. But the whole point is, if you look in a mirror long enough and relax your gaze, then you start to see changes and things in the vision. And it can be a little bit like scrying for some people, or it can be allowing yourself to see your true self rather than just what a mirror will show you.
Yeah, because obviously it's reflecting back a certain amount of light energy, isn't it? And again, you're seeing that energy. It's an odd concept. I use mirror magic quite a bit, actually. I rather like mirror magic, not just the self stuff, but in various other aspects as well. Because let's face it, the majority of magic that we do involves the self in some way. Not all. You might be doing something specifically for somebody else, in which case you might suggest that they themselves, you might give them the spell that uses mirror. I quite like using a mirror and covering it with salt, for example, and then kind of, sort of doing things and moving the salt on the mirror and things like that. Obviously, it used to be lying down. But, there's all sorts of things that you can do with that. And I've done that for quite some time. And I think it's an interesting exercise, even if not. And even that exercise of, like you say, sort of losing focus. Remember those magic eye books that you used to be able to get? I don't know if you
still... How many headaches do we get off those?
Oh gosh, yeah. And you get the knack, don't you? And then you go away, and then you come back to it, and then you lost the knack, and you have to try and refind it again. But it's a bit like those magic eye books to sort of see the picture, just to lose that focus and look beyond the mirror, so that you see something different coming back at you. It's quite an interesting exercise if you've got a spare 5 minutes here and there. It's kind of getting to know yourself, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
Energetically, if you like. Sometimes it's what other people see of you as well. You don't necessarily notice all the bits that other people see. When you let that focus soften, you sometimes see, because you tend to, sort of have the mirror close up. If you're doing your makeup, for example, you have the mirror close up. You might, when you get to our age, have the magnifying mirror on.
So scary. That's awesomely frightening.
But most people don't look at you through a magnifying glass there.
Thank God. That's all I'm saying.
Nobody wants to do that. But yeah, so sometimes it's quite nice to sort of look through and see the energy that you give out, because that's what other people see. It's interesting exercises to try, I think. So yeah, what have we got here? We've got a question. Wait a minute. Oh God, what's happened here? Oh, stop it. Question: why is it doing that? Hang on a minute. This is just silly. Oh, right. That says new comment. I'm trying to get rid of that so that I can get to that.
Right. Technology.
There we go. Here we go. Question: a long time ago, which I knew, so there were 2 ways to do it. Oh, is that? Yes, sorry, that's what you were saying about.
Yes, that's the one
Yeah. Chris is trying to send a poem, but it's not letting her post. Okay. hopefully, maybe Chris, you could do it in several lots, or I might be able to put a link to it or something later. Yeah. Combination of the two. So Rowan asked why I don't use crystals much. I've got a really big answer for that, and a more condensed one. Which one would you like? The short answer is not because I don't either like them, find them attractive, or find them very, very powerful, but because I'm a bit of an eco warrior. I have huge issues about the mining aspect of basically hoiking them out of the earth and making them look pretty when there's no real need to do that. And of course, there's an awful lot of ethics around the people that are put in the mines, and very often they're children that are put in the mines to get them out in very unsavoury circumstances. So that's my reason that I tend not to use crystals very much. Most of the crystals that I've got, most of them, a good 90% of the crystals that I've got are ones that I've found secondhand. I've not bought them firsthand, so I feel less responsible. So yes, but I don't have a huge number of crystals, and that's actually the main reason why. As I say, I've got huge issues around the whole sustainability and the ethics of the mining business around it. As I say, it certainly isn't because I don't love them or find the energies fascinating and useful, but as I say, it's more that side of things. How about you, Heather?
I agree. I've always thought they were beautiful, and I was very into geology when I was a kid, and fascinated in how they're made, etc. My son went through a bit of a phase with that, and he did buy some little new ones, but generally I prefer to find them. I've come across some quite lovely things in charity shops and what have you, but again, I've got my concerns about the earth being sort of torn apart for these things that for the most part are just decorative, and it's not right. It's not the right way to treat the earth.
Yeah, and as I say, there's an awful lot of sinister practices that are going on, around these mines, and they use a lot of child labour and things like that. So those are my main thoughts on it, really. Oh, we've got a cold cat. Hello. Wow. Oh, that's a cold pour.
Chilly outside.
You weren't out for very long, were you? Don't blame me. Do you know, Barney, she doesn't like going out when it's cold or wet. And I don't have a little tray. And that means that she gets a little bit more and more desperate as time passes. And then she starts buzzing about because I know she really, really needs to go. I know she really, really needs to go, but she just can't bring herself to go out through those two cat pups. So she gets quicker and quicker as she sort of like buzzes around. And then all of a sudden I hear tap, tap, tap in the bath. Little what's it, you're not going in my bath. Because given half a chance, she'll tiddle down my plug hole.
Nice. That's something in the bath you don't want.
That's definitely not conducive to self-love. So,
no.
But you suddenly hear tap, tap, tap. Think, oh, she's going out. So yeah, she goes out on the end of my foot. Get out. When we did have the snow, I was very tempted to put the litter tray, because I've got a litter tray and I've got litter, but I don't use it unless it's emergencies, like I need to keep them in for the vets or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was very tempted with all the snow, but she did finally go, so that was poor little thing. She must have been breaking her neck, really, but it was funny. It just got quicker and quicker as she rushed about. It's an emergency. Oh dear, poor cat. Oh dear, what else have we got here? The energy from the children mining, etc., would affect the energy of the crystals themselves. Yeah, absolutely, Tina. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, that's an interesting concept, isn't it?
I mean, people do, obviously, people who work with crystals will cleanse, I hope, cleanse them very appropriately. But yeah, there's something not right. about
Yeah.
this exploitative industry for the benefit of people in the West who are holding themselves up to be spiritual. So it's all a bit,
Yeah. As I say, I do have issues with, sometimes you want to have these nice things, and you sort of read stuff and think, oh, that's lovely, and I wouldn't mind one of those because I've got a dodgy foot and whatever, and you sort of think, well, yeah, that would be nice, but the ramifications of it, I think, I don't know if I can bring myself to do that. And I don't know, as I say, it kind of, for me, lessens it somewhat when it's secondhand, because I sort of feel less part of that industry. I mean, it's not going to stop it. But I just sort of feel a bit less of it because I've not made the demand. I've just found it when somebody else has decided that they don't want it anymore.
yeah, I'm the same with clothes, to be honest, and things like
Yeah.
that. I'd rather reuse something than buying stuff new. Is something I do very infrequently these days. Very infrequently.
Yeah. But yeah. It's an interesting concept, though, and you do have a lot of people that have got very strong opinions of it on both sides. Well, 20 sides of that particular fence, haven't you?
Yes.
But yeah, as I say, but that is the answer. Why I don't really subscribe to that personally. As I say, I'm not berating anybody that does, and that's fine. But for me personally, no, that's not for me. And he's calmed down now. He's upside down now, actually, which means that I haven't got the cold paddy paws on my leg. Yeah. Get up in the air, you silly cat. Oh dear. Silly cat. Yeah. So yeah, but it's a funny thought though, isn't it? And the more you think about it, the more it irks me actually, the more I think about it. Yeah. So what have we got here? So we've got that's an interesting thing. I like this. So Tina says, put this here, there, that she used to scare herself when she was little, in a dark room with a candle, not realizing it. I think I was seeing my dark side. Yeah. And it's amazing how things change, and that, but I think you need to be accepting of it. I think if you know what you're letting yourself in for, and you're prepared to just see what you see for what it is, I think it's an interesting exercise to do. But you do have to be prepared that you will see something that you weren't expecting. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, it may well be a dark side. You just don't know. Let's face it, we've all got one of those. Some people hide them better than others.
Yes.
Them. Make a lot of money on it. But yeah, it is an interesting thing to do though. And I love to see how things mutate actually when you look at something longer. But it's the same, even if you're looking at a flower, if you're looking at a sort of quite intricate flower that's got, sort of lots of lines and lots of petals, for example, if you look at that long enough, that will sort of start to meld and change shape and change form too. Sort of literally shape shifts.
One thing I used to quite like doing, still do given the chance, but is just around sort of dusk time.
Yeah.
When the light's really changing. If you're in a garden, I used to find, I find out I can see the energy around flowers and plants. It's just at that particular time, because I think it's ultraviolet or something. It's one of those things that gets given off, but that is a perfect time to see it because it transforms everything. I always love playing with that.
Yeah.
Sort of relax your eyes enough and let the light just sort of come in, and that you can see the sort of what's behind it, I suppose.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, actually, there was a bit of that today. I was driving home, and I came through a very odd route. I don't know what my stepdad was playing. I really don't know what. God knows, it turned me back and beyond. And it was sort of a twilight when I was coming home.
Mm.
Yeah, it's about 5:30, 6 o'clockish. And that was like that. It was very, very odd light. And this particular patch that this sat nav took me through, was a very unfamiliar patch of countryside that I think I've been through once before, but a long time ago. And because there's quite a lot of snow, obviously you get a lot of reflected light from the snow, and that was very strange. The light was very odd. It really was. It kind of was quite dark but very bright at the same time, and yeah, it was really strange. It was very nice. But I agree with you, and I like that. But I like this time of year as well, because you get really amazing twilight and sunsets this time
Oh,
of and
fabulous!
you
Yeah.
get purple and orange skies and so on, don't you?
Mm.
Um, did you see Lucia's Magic for the Month on Friday?
I've got to catch up on it because I didn't, and I know she's put one out because Friday's
Yeah,
not good for me because I'm having a
yeah,
Zoom
it's
meeting with
not
other
thing,
people.
yeah. But she did that at 4 o'clock on Friday, and you're right, she's put it up on YouTube. I put a link to that actually in last week's episode of the Witching Hour, but I'll put another link up for it as well. And she was talking about how nice the light is at this time of year, and how amazing the sunsets are, and so on. So yeah, for anyone that hasn't seen that, you too, Heather.
Yeah.
Highly recommended. Magic of the Month. It's a whole new series that she's doing once a month. I think it's the first Friday of the month she does it. And she does, it's about an hour. And she does Magic of the Month, and she'll do a visualization for you as well. And it's lovely, actually, really, really nice. She talks about
Yeah,
all sorts
she's very clever, very knowledgeable, and
of,
comes across really well. So easy to listen to.
yeah, very much so. And I enjoyed that very much. I didn't catch all of it because as live, because I was at work and I missed some. But yeah, I sort of caught the tail end and then obviously watched it back, and it was really nice. She did a nice little spell and so on and so forth. So yeah, that was really good. So yeah, but I will put another link for that up. I did put it on last week's one, but I'll put it up again, so that you can all see that, because you should do.
Yeah,
Very
very
entertaining. She's lovely. Now, do you know what? So Rowan has said, here we go. I'm really glad you said this, because Rowan says, please speak about the magical energy and effect of being vegan. Do you know what? I'm so glad you said that, because I'm not only writing a series of books about vegan witchery, but I'm also doing a standalone book about the empowerment of being vegan, the self-empowerment of being vegan, irrespective of whatever lives you save or whatever ethics you may or may not have around veganism. I'm actually writing a book about empowerment of being vegan. It's called Mash and a Polo Mint.
great title.
It is. Jim, would you like to know why it's called Mash and a Polo Mint?
Absolutely.
Okay, when I was about, oh God, I must have been about 9 or 10, somewhere about there. My father, who was peculiar with a capital P, actually a capital word, he was a very peculiar man. And he had very strange ideas about food. He was anorexic, actually. He wasn't very well, amongst his other many foibles. But he was convinced that peppermints would rot away your stomach. Absolutely convinced that peppermints would rot away your stomach. And I don't mean just give you a bit of tummy ache or an ulcer. I mean literally rot through. So he would have a packet of polo mints that would last a year, and he would eat them out to one a week, because he felt that that's all that a person would be able to tolerate on a weekly basis. So obviously I used to, being quite young, I used to sort of pester him because I wanted a sweetie, basically. And almost always he said no, because it would rot away my stomach. And there was this one particular occasion, and it must have been half term or school holiday or something like that. And I wanted to stay up late. I didn't sleep very well as a kid. I don't sleep well now, but I didn't sleep very well as a child. So I would go to bed and still be awake 3 or 4 hours later. So, going to bed was a bit of a nightmare. But on this occasion, I was allowed to stay up and watch some television. And the television of choice that evening was MASH. Do you remember that program, MASH, about the was it in the Vietnam War? I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the Vietnam War, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
In the 50s in America and so on. And on this particular evening, I was allowed to watch MASH, and I was given a polo mint to watch it.
Wow.
It was double whammy, absolutely. And I felt on top of the mountain. I've been pestering for so long, not only to stay up, but to have one of these blooming sweets. And not only was I allowed to stay up, I got a sweet as well. Unfortunately, I went to sleep about 10 minutes in and woke up with the polo mints. Once MASH had finished, with the polo mints in my cheek. Didn't rot my cheek. Might have rotted my stomach, but it didn't rot my cheek. Which was a bit disappointing. But the bottom line was I hadn't been forced to bed and I was allowed to have this sweet. And I really felt that I'd won a battle. In fact, I'd won several battles, actually. I've been allowed to stay up and so on. And it was that whole feeling of being, oh, wow, this is as good as it gets, really. And sometimes it's just the little things that really do make you feel empowered. And that is why I've called it MASH and Polo Mint. So, yeah, and obviously MASH and Polo Mint's both vegan. But yeah, so sometimes it's the little things about being vegan that mean a lot to the person that's chosen that lifestyle. And so it's kind of like small battles. They say you can pick your battles and so on, and sometimes you sort of choose battles in order to win the war and all the rest of it. And it's that kind of thing. I completely forgot what Ryan's question was then. Hang on a minute. We just
the magical energy effect of being vegan.
Oh yes. And for me, that's exactly that. I don't feel that I've got one-upmanship on other people that choose to murder animals. I don't feel that I've got that, but I feel that I can. I don't know. I've just got that knowledge that I haven't hurt anybody today, and that's magical to me. I've not been the cause of any kind of suffering in the world. People say plants have feelings. Well, maybe they do, but you've got to draw the line somewhere. And yeah, for me, as I say, I'm not part of that. And for me, as I say, that is a magical experience because I'm not contributing to the suffering of anything at all. Being a vegetarian, as I was for quite a long time, on and off for years, there was still a bit where we needed and relied on animals, or I needed to rely on animals for certain parts of my diet or clothing or whatever. But as I say now, I can almost live guilt-free, if you know what I mean. And the only animal that gets hurt is the one that's just been told that she has to go outside and not wee in my bath. I didn't hurt her. I just made her go out. So yeah, so that's it really. But it's for me, it's an empowering thing. And empowerment is a magical thing, whichever way you look at it. I think it's magical. So I hope that sort of answers your question. But yeah, so there we go. So look out for the book; it will be coming out.
Get ahead.
So yes. So yes. So yeah, that's how I feel about it anyway. Where are we? Yeah, so Chris says, dawn and dusk are liminal times. Makes sense to me that we cross from dark to light or vice versa. And we have a link to magical energy when we see things we would otherwise miss. Absolutely. Do you know, one of the things that makes me think as well is sometimes when I'm out wandering about in the countryside, sometimes I see liminal spaces in hedgerows or, sort of clumps of plants and so on. When you sort of look at something and it's like really, really crisp and clear, and then all of a sudden you get a patch that just isn't quite clear. It's kind of shimmery and fuzzy. You get those in your places as well. It's like, ooh, there's a bit over there. And walk a bit further, you're like, ooh, another shimmery bit over. I love that. Absolutely love that. You have to look for them.
Once you know what you're looking for, they become easy to spot, don't they?
Yeah, but I think the first few times that you see them, either it's the first few times of your particular walk, or when you very first see them, it's just like, wow, look at that. And you just, no matter how hard you try, you can't focus on that particular, it just will not come into focus because it's a little space. I think it's amazing. I love it. Where are we? Rowan says the old mass shooting site became the Southern California Renaissance Fair site. Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting. Yeah, so there you go. Don't know much about those sort of things, I'm afraid. So yeah. Oh dear. So, anything else that anybody would like to ask or add?
When are your books being published, Becky?
When's it being published? Where?
Or any of them?
This one will be out in August, September.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So yes, it's doing quite well actually. I'm doing quite well with that. So yeah, so we're looking August, September time, probably September.
Yeah.
So yes. Yeah. I'm quite it's good actually. It's an interesting thing to write. As I said, the other things were, it's really weird because I've got so many books on the go, and obviously, as you know, it's one of those things that sitting down and writing just the one I do find tricky, because then it sparks off something that needs to go in one of the other books, and so I do a bit of that and so on.
Yeah.
But making that decision, no, do you know what? I'm going to start with that, and then I can do that whole series on the back of that, so to speak. But this one needs to come out first.
Yes.
It was that. And actually making that decision was very difficult. But having made that decision, things kind of like slotted into place a bit more easily, to be honest with you. So, yeah, it was quite good. Volunteer and beta readers. Yes, once it's going, I dare say there'll be a few PDFs floating about for those people that are desperate. So obviously I'll keep you posted on that anyway. So yeah, are you a vegan as well, Rowan? That'd be interesting to know, or whether it's something you've considered or so on. Yeah. Well, on that note, we're not quite on the hour, but we're to 9 o'clock, and I've got a very early start in the morning. So yes, I've got to be at work at 5:45 tomorrow, so I'm going to potter off.
Let's go to bed.
It's weird, yeah. It is weird getting up at 3:30. I must say, I'm not quite getting used to that. Is it?
No, I don't think I'd ever get used to that. The only way I'll ever see dawn is if I've stayed up all night. That's how I roll.
Yeah, well, same here. You know, my whole life, literally my whole life, being like that. So to kind of like do the other side of it is quite bizarre. But you know what's really weird? And I found that I haven't had any problems getting up super early at that sort of time, 3:30, 3:45, 4:05, whatever time, you know, depending on what time I need to be there. I've had no problems getting up, waking up, staying awake, whatever. If I have, and similarly, if I've had to get up for other reasons, whether I'm going on holiday or whatever, and I have to get up at super silly o'clock because I've got a plane to catch or something like that, and I don't have a problem getting up early. But what I can't do is wake up anywhere between about 6:30 and 10:30. I can't wake up then. It's, you know, I really have a problem, and it's a genuine issue with that. Whereas waking up super early, I'm like, oh, I'm awake. I'm awake and I'm bright and I'm on the go and I'm really good. I actually genuinely think I've been born in the wrong time zone. And seriously, when I first got to Australia, and obviously they've got totally different time zone to us, I found that I had no problem with adjusting to the time or jet lag or anything. I was just sort of like, bang, straight into it. So yeah, and the few occasions I've been back since, exactly the same. I just slot right into it. So yeah, I think I'm just born in the wrong time zone.
Fair enough.
Oh dear, got on my broomstick too early.
Now, Rowan's just popped in and said they're vegetarian.
Oh yeah. Wonderful.
So there may be some issues about being vegan, I think, which is fair enough.
I'm diabetic, Rowan, and my diabetes since I went vegan is just perfectly controlled. I've come off all my tablets, everything. So it's something to consider. It really is. So yeah, it's it's how you look after yourself and how you treat it, really, isn't it? As it is with everything. My health just skyrocketed since I went vegan. Isn't it? It's amazing. So
yeah. Like I say, not everything suits everybody, but veganism absolutely suits you without a doubt, and that's
the biggest benefit that I ever had from going vegan. This is the weirdest one. I don't know if anyone else will ever get this ever. But I used to have the stinkiest feet imaginable. Didn't matter. I could soak my feet in the bath for 10 hours. They were awful, and they smelled like vinegar. I'm not joking. It was. They were vile, absolutely vile, and they always smelled like vinegar. And it's sort of like you, live and die in flip flops or boots, and it didn't matter what I was wearing. I'd have air to my feet all day in flip flops. I'd soak them in the bath for hours, and they always just honked. They really did. Within 3 weeks of being vegan, that had gone.
wow.
I mean, how weird is that?
It's weird. Cool, but it's weird.
I know, it is really weird. But there was obviously something disagreeing with me somewhere along the line.
Something chemical, clearly.
Something, yeah. And it was just, and they say you have quite a lot of toxins through the feet, don't they? And obviously whatever it was just emitting this sort of green fug.
How unpleasant.
It was revolting. It really, ugh. But anyway, that's gone. I'm going to say. So it's definitely one of the added benefits. Not just me, the entire world doesn't have to suffer my revolting feet. Oh dear, yes. So there you go. Anyways, I hope you've all enjoyed this evening. We'll see you next Wednesday. And if you haven't already, please remember to hit the bell, like, and
thumbs up. Yeah.
That's the word, thumbs up, and all that kind of stuff. You know the drill. And if you feel like it, you can share it.
Please share. Please tell everybody.
So yeah, more the merrier. That's what I think, isn't it? Anyway, we will see you next week, and have a good one. Enjoy your self-love on Sunday. Cheerio.